morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unc and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
It was good. Just was mindful of the short week, so still more selling some quick hitters. Quite a bit of D dog that move Thursday. So yeah, just kind of back at it. Some of the crypto stuff did a little better, faster than I had assumed. Like MSTR ran through 400 pretty easily. That didn't put up much of a fight, so had some of that left and got rid of most of that.
Yeah, with you on the more selling than buying, but I think I lucked out on the timing on that with the vacation coming up because I don't want to be watching a bunch of open positions. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of price targets, kind of been hit. And then a lot of trades, where you're taking that first scale out and holding on to the second part. But it was hard to, I set a couple stop losses on Monday, and the week well, the first couple days of the week was good enough that, I had to kind of readjust that, and that's kind of what I'm trying to avoid. I mean, it's good to move your stops up and whatnot, but it's at that time that I'm trying to set myself up to not have to invest too much over the next 2 weeks. But yeah,
Yeah.
good overall week. Like I said, if you were in anything and you took your first scale out, unless you're super tight with your stop loss, a lot of stuff is just breathing or running or however you want to put it in this current market. And we kind of talked about the oxen market, which is
Mhm.
one of your better analogies. And if currently if it's not showing that grinding firework, not turning around market, yeah, I don't know what else you need because perfect example of that. For like I said last week though, it's kind of harder for me to trade in those environments because I try to find bottoms and we're higher
Yeah.
low. We're pretty much just higher lows.
No, I mean, yeah, for sure. And I mean, for the first time in a while, some of the stocks I go to, the familiar pivots aren't quite coming back. So, you look for a spot. I go a little smaller off of that, but like LLY flushing below 780, and then working its way back to it. It's not huge, but like for an options deal, I mean that works pretty well. And then you'll get a punch through test of 800, and you just see this 810 flow around. So it's clearly just like you said, just breathing down here under $800. And the longer range flow on it's 1,000. So um I kind of like my chances with that. You just stay pretty careful with the options. A lot of retail recovery still. Lulu, Ulta, a couple names, Deck, couple names there. Deck was a good one because it was below that 100 psych, and had flow well above that. That was just still open from when it dropped. So you get some relief there, and get yourself a good entry. It could park around 108 to 115 for a really long time, but if you're under $100 on it, you don't really care so much about that.
That's what I love about P. He brings up this one, and I'm like, just trade Crocs. Yeah, but it's the same
Yeah, yeah,
thesis.
right.
It's the same thesis, the same pool, the same idea, and I'm
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
with you. The sector, um, but there's a lot is still that still can recover.
Yeah,
Each
yeah.
of them have their own issues, but I don't think real estate's all the way back. I know restaurants aren't doing good. Casinos, airlines. I mean, they're not. Anyone out there think casino or airlines are going away? I mean,
Right, right. Yeah.
I mean, and that's a point I don't want to overlook. That I thought about when we were talking and during this, just the market conditions. The one thing I like about this market is you can, kind of make it a check, which I never say this, so don't like write it down and put it on the wall and call me out on it in 6 months in different conditions. But you do kind of start looking at, all right, which companies do I want to, invest in or hold on to a little bit more? Which one of these are longer theses? Because if you subscribe to the two trade theory, it's not going to stop, or you're not going to get that
Yeah.
entry back. So the blue chip of the market, we can use an example right now with Nvidia. If you had those 95s, yes, you should have took some profit, but the rest of it, you probably aren't getting 95s again. And that's just,
Right.
that's
Right.
the perfect example. Throw coin out there. If you got 165, you got 220, it'd be real hard to get that again. But you should treat that as two trades always for me. And just
Yes.
I like having that check. Um, but you should have that list ready of where you kind of want to go. Not necessarily long, but invest with what you made from trading. Let's throw that one out there.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And it's you sleep better when the money that's in it comes from that,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just piling your paychecks into it every 2 weeks like a lot of these traders do. Um, so totally with you on that. One of the I guess one of the areas I wanted to talk about for a minute. Let's see. So you see a lot of talk about small caps, and then we get on small caps, quite a bit. Now, obviously, the Russell has recovered quite a bit, like everything else has, but I still trust this a lot less than QQQ, or especially Dow Jones. So I think we've always kind of looked at smalls a little bit differently, and to me, like, even I'm always on sectors, but with small caps, it really is a lot of times just kind of name by name, chart by chart, and when something like Eton rolls around, it's not really as if the fitness sector is moving. You know what I mean? Like, it's just those real, like, individual names, and so you don't really get. You could have chips going, and there's some smalls and chips. You can have oil, and yes, there's some oil smalls, but the Beyond Meats and the Pitons, and and stuff of the world, are, I think, require a little bit of your homework or patience for them to hit your spots. And the idea that we're going to throw a dart at small caps and do well, like, I don't think that people really understand how they work when they think about them in that way.
I mean, if you can write this stuff down, people, for sure. But I mean, just the origin of our system was, at the very beginning, we would dismiss everything that didn't line up with the level I had to also line up with the flow you had. Like, not to the
Yeah.
penny, but within a couple. Well, I mean, like 15 or 20 cents. And then through the years,
Right.
we've learned about the when they bracket numbers, that kind of being a little better setup than the direct number. We've also learned
Right.
that
Right.
direct numbers probably not going in the money. We've learned
Yeah.
that if it's just a one strike. So I think that is way overlooked by most people. Like, we have a not a I don't want to say proven, but we have a tested system that gives us results, and we see similarities in those, and smalls. And yeah, it's a different game. But right when you first said it, the first thing that popped in my head was like, yeah, no shit, P. Those come from me. And I mean, I'll just write it all down. All stocks are shit. Trade the
Yeah.
percent,
Yeah. Yeah.
rinse and repeat.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it's you trade that because the range is so good. um, you're not going to get overly mentally invested that this is some good fucking company. You shouldn't. You really shouldn't.
Yeah.
Um, and if you do, learn about fundamentals, because it won't take long to go, well, shit, these guys don't have money. Rivian, great example right now. I got a buddy that wants to go long in Rivian. Talk every 3 months. He's like, I'm going long in Rivian. I'm like, they're burning 700 million a quarter, bud. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know what you're investing in, but I mean, it's a news play at best. You're praying they get some news that's pertaining to the money
right.
or a lot of deliveries. So I think
Yeah,
that's really why we stay in that field. And people, I mean, we don't talk about it as much as we used to, but it's just to trade the percent. It's just to learn the chart. And on your side, I'll toss it back to you here. On your side, it's always been for me, whales can't hide.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's I had a question about like what do you look for in an option flow, and um, it really it's that's pretty high on the list. Those setups where they can't hide. Now there are some where I'll do my homework and unpack some complexity, and I only do that because move is makes that time worth it. Coin's a good example. They can definitely hide in coin, but I can also find what they're doing pretty well. And but yeah, but others it just when it pops into the filters I have, and there's really, no matter how much they try to break those orders up, you can see it's the same people. You can see where they're taking it. I know where they've taken it before, and it just it just goes from there. Um, but yeah, I mean the thing you see at a moment like this a lot of times in the market, and I saw it with gold and silver, um, and now I'm seeing it with small caps. People will be like, "All right, now it's ready. We're ready for this big breakout in the Russell 2000." And I just look at it, and I'm just like, "Okay, the daily RSI's like bumping up against 80. You're saying like now it's getting started. It, I mean, it moved over $400 like
Yeah,
it's since April.
yeah.
So it could stagnate here for a while. This whole RSI thing could park up here in this upper zone for a bit, and that's how you get a big uptrend. That certainly could happen. But the I don't know. I mean, late is a style, and I guess like at late is the easiest style to pick up because you just see what happens, and then
Oh,
you're either
sure.
going to say it's going to continue, or I'm going to call the top here. And it what that does is a lot of traders kind of they center themselves. Here's when I have time to trade. Here's what I see right now, and I want to trade today. So this is what I'm going to buy. Um, and it's like market isn't revolving around you. So I think if you want to do this, the two ways to do it are have a plan and set some alerts, and you just gotta wait um, for things to happen, or you have to really put enough time into it that you can find new things. You can return to the old reliable ones, and then you will mostly have something to do. I I had an opinion that it's like, well, I'm going to trade every day. A day trader, I'm going to trade every day. I've backed off that somewhat. But part of it is like when you have enough just experience with it, or current positioning or whatever, you're definitely gonna have something to do every day. You're not just waking up, you know, trying to do the same thing over and over. I think a lot of people struggle when that's their whole approach to it.
Yeah, that 2020 market kind of made late a style being possible and people being allured to it
Yeah,
because that shit just didn't stop and you could be a little late and you just kind of get in and get off your bus. But I forget your line about the you have a line about the market kind of being a casino and it's a good analogy for it. I mean, what we do is we watch the craps table. And the guy that's winning constantly, when he does something different, we just follow him. He puts a lot of chips
yeah,
down on, he's been rolling his number, and all of a sudden he bets on seven coming out, and we just throw the chip there, and just say thank you and move on. And a lot of people don't get that part of it. And the big point though that stuck out with that P is you said plan. You need to have a plan. Well, before you have a plan, you need to have rules and big facts.
Yeah.
These guys that are managing money that we're trading against or with or around or through or however you want to look at it, they have rules. And if they don't, they can't take something like you're talking about that ran the 2, 3, 400% and just hold on to it. Their boss is going to go livid. They're managing a lot of people's money, so I mean
Yeah.
that's why we
Yeah.
kind of always said that you have to have rules as well, because that's going to put you in the same, I guess, ballpark with them. If you're a little, and you can be more diligent because you're not as big as a ship. So
Well, yeah,
that gets
and
missed a
you,
lot. But if you know how hedge funds and those guys work, they have to take money and then they have to find somewhere else to put the money. This is where I got to roll it around, Pete. They have to
yeah,
put that money somewhere else, and they're not going to put it in Nvidia at 150, and that's why you see this rotation to smalls. So um, if you're on a train that went, you could also be sitting on a train that's kind of just going to sit there and do nothing and leak out for a while. So, yeah, late's a style, and currently you can be late in different ways.
yeah, absolutely. And then the whole a lot of the opinion on option flow and what you're trying to do is trade like a whale. You cannot. I mean, because you don't own 50,000 shares of that stock you're looking at. You own 25 or 50,
Yeah,
maybe 100, maybe 150. But like, you get capped out at like a tiny fraction. So you can't operate even within options the way that they do. You can't sell 50 calls on the thing um, to protect yourself. You just you can't you can't do it. You can't create all these synthetic longs and all this all this shit that they do. So you're just hopping on the train, hopping off, hopping on, hopping off, um, and yes, you are trying to time the market, but in a way that's not chaotic. In a way that I know what I'm going to do if this happens, and
yes,
that's how I usually try to phrase my notes that way. That if I see this, I'm going to do this, rather than alerting, piling into the $20 out of the money weekly, in the first 5 minutes, and then the contract moves from 20 cents to 28 cents. Who banked? And then it's 16 cents. An hour later. I mean, no, that's not really not. It's not really repeatable. It's repeatable for a story people want to tell, but in terms of actually making money, it's not really something you can do.
hey, does it get any more simpler than a Dollar Tree and Dollar General or $100 stocks?
Yeah, exactly.
Buying
Right.
a video under 100. Uh,
Right.
BBAI 395 ads below. I don't think it
Yep.
gets much fucking
And then and,
simpler
and
than
then
that.
and then BBAI, the move from 5 to 7
This is gonna be
is going to be
cleaner.
the easiest.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's the cleanest
yeah,
move. So yeah, yeah, all
yeah.
that.
Next looks like Rocket Lab. I
Yeah,
don't
right.
know. I don't know. I
Right.
don't know. Um, I had something. Oh yeah. So yeah, about just to kind of bump off them rules again, and really why I'm doubling down on this is because it is the rotation of smalls that if you just need a reason why to wrap your head around it, but those fuckers have rules, and one of their rules is pretty fucking simple. Their portfolios can't be 1, 2, 3%. I don't know exactly. I'm not in the office, but it can't be more than that into one position. Well,
Yeah.
when they believe in something, let's say they buy in full over time, right? And they get the move.
Mhm.
Well, now that
Yeah.
position that was maximum 2 or 3% is like 8 to 10 to 12% of their portfolio. So just by their rules, they have to sell. It's too big of a
Yeah.
position now. So they
Right.
have to dumb it back down to the spots, and sometimes they do that with calls. They sell cover, they sell options against it, and that's when I think the options really get active on the bigger stuff. But you guys got to understand how they play the game instead of just wondering why certain things are happening. Um,
Uh, yeah,
and I lean on you for
absolutely
that. Sorry.
right. And I've I've had this situation, like especially when you get a winner. Spotify at one point was 45% of my account,
Yeah.
because I had sold I sold a bunch of Microsoft and LLY and stuff, and it had done so well. I mean, my pivots on that. This is a search the group moment. I'll just show you real quick. But yeah, I mean, so it
Hmm.
was between this zone, and most of it 147, and then I got again on the 190 consolidation, and I went crazy, and then I kept most of it through the break of 600, and then on the way down, I completely got out. But yeah, it sort of got out of hand with how big that was, and it wasn't really that comfortable to see it just have kind of an okay day. It had a pretty big effect on on my whole the big picture for me, just because it was such a big part of what I was doing. So it felt better to just get out
Yes.
of it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could have just held this whole time. But it went to 500 twice
Yeah.
and then made this move.
Yeah.
So it
That
was
affects the
the
sleeping.
re-entry thing.
That affects the
Yeah,
sleeping. Yeah, and I think
right.
that one thing that's missing in this combo for most people is like you're not in the position they are to scale out halfway and sell cover calls. Your account's
Right.
not. That's a lot of, lot of shares at that point in time.
Yeah.
And
Right. Yeah.
so like that. I mean, that's kind of what they do. So you have to play the game a little different. And um, yeah, and I've always I've been in it long enough, P, that I would rather get out. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
take the big win, walk away, smoke a cigar, come back with a straight head, and is this a good value to play again? Does it make sense again? Then trying to just ride it the whole entire way. And I've always done that with price targets. Like Nvidia is probably again the
Yeah.
most recent example, but we're basically down there by 90, both of us. Like I'll really hop back in then, and Square's the same way for me. I missed it this trip around as well, just like Tesla, but I thought we'd get back in the 40s again. And that's just where you just got to seek 40 to 60s, 50%. It's that simple for me. I mean, if you want to know why I'm saying that,
Yeah.
it's that simple for me. Um, so yeah. I mean, you got it. For me, it's just a better way for people that are small accounts, and anyone under, you know, let's just say 5 million is a small account. Anyone under
Yeah.
that, it's just a better way to play for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, if like just for example, like I'm a big advocate for fractional shares
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
big stuff,
yeah. I like that.
because it came down to wanting to use the work, right, and not wanting it to, like, I read some of those so well, I don't always want it to be options. Uh, the flip side of that is, like, if it's something I'm buying fractional shares on, I'm probably not going to be selling calls on the thing. Because I mean, you're building a position over time. You can make one, two, $3,000 on some of these moves share side on that big stuff. But I mean, to get to 100 shares of those things, that take a really long time, and longer than the move I'm seeing. Longer than it's going to take, like LLY. I see it busting through 1,000. Sometime in the fall or next year. Um, I'm not going to get to 100 shares in the thing by then. It's just not going to happen.
Well, and then
So
you're selling,
instead,
and then you're only selling one. These fuckers are
selling one,
selling
right?
multiple. They're
Exactly
selling
right.
hundreds at multiple strikes. I mean, it's just a
Yeah,
different game.
right.
It's a different
Yeah,
game.
exactly. So yeah, so the selling options thing, that's more like a BitDeer or Riot or
Yeah.
somebody like that,
Yes.
where you do that, and that sector in particular is pretty good for that, by the way. The Because I mean, worst case, you lose some shares when it makes a big move up. Like, oh well, it's you're selling out of the money, so it's covered. I mean, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, this to again, can't trade like the whales, because you're not trading with tens of millions of dollars. So it really is that simple.
Kind of rotation here, but it'll be a good prequel, and it is the one note I had, and and you're gonna be shocked. No laughing here, P. Um,
Yeah.
with this rotation of smalls, man, I really see this energy trade.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
like, and I'm not. I mean, I'm not talking like your regular good ones. There's a lot of those crappy ones that I've had for years on my list that are kind of. I mean, I think we had BE a week ago or 2 weeks ago
Mhm.
in the rotation, but stuff like that looking really set up again to just retrace the move they had the last time we had the energy trade, with a big focus. It's looking like on storage, which is that's where the batteries comes in my opinion,
Yes.
and then electrically, it's just electrically driven in general. Like so, anything that's on the electric side or that is electrical, because that's like the end game of what we need, or where we're yeah, just what we need. Everything's electric, and everything is going electric, and the cars are needing more demand. So I mean, before you needed like a little bit of everything. It looks like it's really going to be like an electric renaissance. But the smalls currently beaten up, looking like they're just going to make a run in general.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And the idea that we need to update the grid, and that's where a lot of the infrastructure attention is going to go. Totally with you on that. And then the big component of the energy trade for me too is has been solar. Different kind of deal. Basically solar just gets the worst case scenario thrown at it constantly, and it oversells based on that. And so you're just constantly trying to trade those things back to equilibrium, with having it in mind, like, okay, which of these companies is actually going to be you know the one who's gonna make it. I know who it probably is, and I know who they're probably going to buy. And my favorite one isn't one of those two, so yeah, so that's fine. But yeah, so I'm on that, and then
The
oil
weird,
as
the
well.
weird time you're on the shitco and I'm on the good ones. Make no sense.
Yeah, right, exactly. The oil, still very much looking at midstream and pipelines, offshore too. I think any news for offshore is going to be good. So there's a couple names I like there. That's a good transition to some boring stuff here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, oil. Yeah, it's doing very well. I mean, this anytime. I mean, if you've been around it long enough, you know that the geopolitical spikes sell back off in within oil itself. Now, as long as the stocks themselves, they don't retrace the entire move down, then you're in pretty good shape. And that's kind of what happened here. So that's why your Oxys and Devons and Exxons and all of that. Talk about the oxen thing. They've got those set up to move up, and you need patience. Shares are best there, but I still like oil a lot, and I think it figures it out in the it's in this like 72 to 80 kind of thing, is what I anticipate happening there.
Yeah, some good. I like the smalls just because they move a little better on the range, but we got some good names
Yeah.
there. Good names there.
Um, Natural gas. This is what you want to see, and you just keep four relevant. Um, move around 350. Set up here for a while. Breakout here again. It's going to be 5 to 7, and you just you want some patience. Don't think we're going to see two again. So um, red day buys, combo stocks. That's what I look for there.
Nice. Yeah, I ain't read that bill or really looked into it yet, but I assume that pipeline that they want in Alaska
Yeah. So,
and then the Pacific will get moving here shortly.
and silver. This is the one I'm talking about. People are like, all right, silver, it's ready. Here's the starting line. Like, so while I do think it does break out from here, it's just it's funny to me that people watched all of this. Now they're into silver. But yeah, I mean, it's you talk about, by the way, the energy trade you mentioned with electricity and all of that. Like silver is a industrial
Metal.
material as
Yeah.
well as being a precious metal. So um, there's a lot of demand for it just based on that too.
That's a good example of what I was talking about. But outside of the good stocks, but all the silver stocks that I was in, like I've taken profit on those and kind of said my piece with them. If it sets up again, I'll trade them. But just that little break
Yeah.
between instead of like staying super glued to those charts. Even though AG's riding the line right now, it's fine. I'd rather ride that line for a month without me and then, um, reset a plan up and re-enter that on a new thesis. Um, you'll be there. I'll be fine.
Yep. Yeah. Um, and gold, just you know, consolidation up here. Gonna probably punch through all-time highs at some point. Don't really see gold slowing down either, but yeah, you had a pretty good entry opportunity on this and can just write it out with what you have. There'll be some names that pop up, and I mean, if best case you get a, I mean, I guess, well, not best case for them, but um, some of the smaller ones don't have as many mines. So if their mine gets news and that news is bad, uh, they'll sell off pretty heavy and then they'll find equilibrium again. SBSW does that all the time. So that's kind of what I look for in gold stocks more than, you know, Barrick Gold. I guess B now.
Yeah, B.
Um, yeah.
That's 15 to 20.
And
I already got that 30%.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, then copper's over $5, and I talked about that for a long time. So let's just see what happens up here. There's still some aluminum stocks lagging, so I
In it.
like some of the range there.
Yeah, I'm in it.
Yep. And
It's 3.8. That's a good number. That's a good number right there.
yeah. So yeah, the 10-year spiked on Thursday. Not really big deal. You just wanted to stay in this zone. You're all right. So I wouldn't worry
Yeah,
too
four
much
four and a half
about
was the
that.
trouble area. We're not close to that.
Yeah. Right.
Um, I'm fine if it downtrends back to 4.2, 4.15 and stays there. That would probably be perfect.
Yeah, I mean it could easily it could kind of go mid candle on this Thursday move and then we go from there.
Pull the 5 year out on that. Yeah, see, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
we can go back to four, right at four even, and still be high, but feel like we're getting relief.
Yeah, exactly.
It just can't be that, and something that you say. I'm just repeating what you say. It just can't be like one candle down. You want it to kind of slowly leak out or slowly grind up in either way. You don't want the violent moves here.
Yeah, the violent moves cause a lot of cascading issues for the market. A lot of shit has to move around when that happens. It triggers all kinds of crazy things.
The wash.
And and it's not even something that you really could hop in and trade that day very well with options because a lot of the moves going to be in the pre-market. Maybe you lucked out. You'll have your people. They were down 80% on a weekly put, and they're up 500% on it the next morning. That's not repeatable. So, yeah, that's you don't really, for just normal trading conditions, you don't really want that. So yeah, just keep an eye on it for moves like that, and um, otherwise, wouldn't worry too much. All right, so Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
It came back up a little bit.
Yep. Let me get to my 4 hour. Um, Yeah, so it on the weekend took a little dip yesterday, and setting up around 108. I mean, yeah, the punch through on 110 is not really gonna likely happen on a holiday weekend. A year ago, we had a pretty big sell off on July 4th last year, if I recall. I remember buying coin calls; it was down like 15% pre market or something, and just got half that back that next day. But yeah, anyway, pretty healthy up here. We've talked about how the it's going to make an explosive move up to make that from 104, 108 instead of 92 to 95 raises your ceiling a bit. And so that's where the 120 to 132 kind of idea comes from. So that's what I'm looking for. And there's definitely some opportunities in some of the smalls there, I think.
Yeah, like what do you hear about them wallets? The
Oh
fucking
yeah,
what?
yeah, the dormant
Yeah, yeah,
wallets
yeah. What do you think about
waking
that?
up.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Because I don't follow that shit. I just heard about it.
I mean, to me, it kind of shakes up some liquidity. I mean, the idea that these guys who held these wallets for 14 years, that they know something. It's all about to collapse, and they moved it to sell it all. I don't really buy that. Um,
It wasn't
but
stolen. It wasn't stolen.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, because that was another thing floating around that someone just stole it too. Someone they were
No, I don't think
compromised.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you steal it, you pretty much are gonna do one thing, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
you're not just gonna
Right.
start
Right.
holding it forever. You're gonna try to find a way to sell it.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Right.
uh, I assume you're not well off, living in your mansion on the island in Dubai, and you just stole a hundred whatever it is in Bitcoin, and you're just like, I'll just save that. We'll just keep that.
Right.
Haha.
Right. Yeah.
I just don't think that.
No. Yeah. They'd look to flip all that, but
Yeah, Ferrari
yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah. I think although I have seen something where people are kind of coming to the realization about Bitcoin. They're like, well, so if I give you the exact wording of it, I says, let me understand. I put 1,000 into Bitcoin today. If Bitcoin goes to 30 million,
Oh yeah, I seen that.
I make 3 million. Yeah, okay. Nobody will get rich. LOL. Um, yeah, I mean, right. Uh, that sort of is an understand. You have to understand what Bitcoin is now compared to what it was when it was 10 cents. Um, the percentages and the market cap growth and all that get a little harder. The exponential growth gets tougher. So you know, you're trading a boring sector now. Sorry. You can try the meme coins if you want. You can try leverage if you want, but that's what it is now. It's a commodity, and so you trade it like a commodity, and that's just my feeling on it. It has been for a long time.
Yeah, it's pet rock. Government's gonna government's gonna ruin it eventually.
Right, right.
I'm trying to think of something
All
like in history that was the same that they came in and just fucked up. Besides gold, obviously gold's kind of similar, but um, something else that
yeah,
they.
I mean they fucked up gold in the sense that they hoarded it and made it illegal to own it, and then the Federal Reserve, Jekyll Island, all that stuff.
Weed. How about weed with the tax stamps? They
Yeah,
fucked that up
yeah,
too.
yeah. It's been a while since I've cycled back around to um, weed stocks. It's just such a dead issue with
Yeah,
under Trump.
yeah.
Just
You're in the
no life to it.
you're in the wrong administration. The wrong people have control. You're not
Yeah,
getting the hopefulness of, oh my God, they'll do. No one's thinking Trump's gonna legalize weed. Like that's not happening.
yeah. I mean, I don't. He would. He doesn't get it. You know,
Well, he doesn't even
so he's
drink.
not gonna.
He doesn't even drink.
He drinks Diet Coke.
Yeah. So
I mean, Yeah, like that's it.
Yeah, he doesn't
So
really, not really his thing.
yeah. All right, so I want to talk Spy for a minute.
Yeah, yeah, let's do a little bit. I'd really more than anything just curious why. I just never seen no out of the money upside like this in a while
Yeah.
on Spy, where they're not like at least taking a little bit of a shot north.
Right. Yeah. Still not. It's 560 December. Um, and then there's just a ton of dead open interest, and it's we've it created a scenario where, I mean, these hedges that died, they don't care because they had more upside anyway. But where August is mostly dead open interest. You're not we're not going to 500 by August 15th. So sorry that that contract might look like a bargain at $50, but we're not going to 500 in 6 weeks. So you can put that out of your mind.
Well,
So yes, all
what
that's
about
dead.
480? Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So really, it's about the 575 January, 560 um, December. I mean, those are standing out, and those numbers make some sense, especially for what they imply about 580. Um, might keep that relevant, but no, I don't. I mean, maybe with the holiday, and then get to the July OPEX and all that, I might see some stuff pop up, but it's mostly the zero DTEs and the weeklies that are where the calls are at. And then a lot of the upside they're working through futures, which doesn't have the options on it. So that's kind of just the scenario that we're in. So I can see the floor better than the ceiling on my end, and that'll probably be that way for a while.
Yes, I like your spy line up there with the 1 week, the 1 month, the 3 month, the 6 month. You can kind of see and it's a good throw it out there. You can kind of see the quarters, so to speak.
Yeah,
Um, this is the second quarter and the first quarter of the year, and it's basically just the retrace of the same move, or back to the same high, um, which is what made last week really weird. And I didn't expect a much of clarity through last week. We had a short week with the holiday in the worst possible spot. Um,
yeah.
you have the end of the quarter and end of the month. Um, Surprised it wasn't one of them quad witching thingamajiggies. Um,
Well, and I mean, in my experience, the an early close day is the absolute shittiest day
oh, for sure.
to
For sure.
trade.
They're not coming
I
in.
mean, I
They're not
it's
coming in.
yeah, right. I mean, they're it's like turning on a football game to watch them take a knee. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you want to watch the last few minutes of the game, and they're just taking a knee, and that's what they were doing. So yeah, I mean, there were a few quick hitters for me on Thursday morning. Just ones I'd been looking at, like app app loving, just tends to flush 2 to 4%, and then recover. It's been doing that pretty much every Friday. So did the same thing on the short day, and caught a little of that. But yeah, I mean, it's things are just gonna kind of stagnate as the day goes on, and then you get to that. There's no power hour on a day that closes early, so
Unless your name is
I don't know.
Pele and you trade Wolf. Sorry,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, the kid. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, I learned that, like, actually when I first started the first Black Friday I ever
Yeah.
traded. I'm just like, what the hell is this? I mean, what is even happening here? It's just not worth it.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. And not that the whole week was like that, but um, that would have been better in the middle of the month. Let's just say that way. There was
Yeah, yeah,
several reasons for people just to take the for not people for them to take the week off last week. Um,
oh yeah. They, they
I'm
had they had a foot out the door for sure.
let's end on this good little topic just to touch base on it. But fuck, I've been making fun of it because you know I seen it coming, and then it happens, and I crack jokes. But when are we gonna get a goddamn red day, P? And what's gonna be the
I,
what's
I
what
mean,
what what is your red day? Let's start with there. And
yeah,
will it be more than one? How long will it last? Because it's got to come here soon.
it does. I mean, we backed off the like we transitioned out of the 3-2 market at the exact right time. Like
Mm-hmm.
we called that one. I didn't really know what to call what we're in. I like your term for it. I call it like a 4-1. Barely even getting that. Some
Yeah.
of the days that set up as a red day end up just closing flat or close to it. So yeah, to me, a red day is a dip of 1 to 1.5% in Nasdaq. But probably doesn't close there. Closes point down 0.7 or something like that. Could get half of it back right right in the aftermarket, and then we're right back there again. Uh 550 might be the number that sets up for QQQ with that, but I'm not seeing like I'm laser focused on SQQQ,
Okay.
because I do feel like we could see some pullback. But I don't. But again, I don't really trade on that. I have to actually see it there.
Oh, sure, sure.
I'm checking on it, but I'm not just assuming that it's going to happen. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the market starts to care about the tariffs again, but that's not going to happen organically. There has to be an actual consequence or um, reason for that to happen. Because I just honestly don't think I just sort of don't believe Trump on that anymore. It's like cry wolf so many times.
Sure.
You throw all these numbers out about how high the tariffs are going to be, and you back off of them, you extend them. The assumption is we're going to extend them. If you saw some real pain, some consequence of that, I guess that could do it. Trading shorting on macro just doesn't seem to be a good idea. Um, Market tends to brush off bad data, and the bigger story is rate cuts and the
Yes.
hope about it. I think that we get three. I think we are in agreement on that. As long as they think that's going to happen, we just continue to grind up. I think.
Well, I don't know if I was late, but I've been there a week or two. The market's definitely like looking 2026, the start of the year.
Yeah.
It's like overlooking the rest of the year. Um,
Yep.
and I say that from on both sides, both the positive and the negative side. And the data, when you say data, those numbers have been great. I haven't really seen too many numbers that aren't good coming through on that side.
Yeah. There was that jobs report, right? That they were expecting to add
oh yeah, yeah,
10,000, and it was like down
yeah. But the
90 or
inflation and
whatever. But
everything, I think, is more important.
yeah,
And I think jobs get dismissed a lot with the ICE situation. Like I think
oh
people
yeah,
expect
yeah,
that to kind of happen. Not that they're
right.
cooked in. Um, but yeah, like figuring out the market was that forward looking. You hit the nail right on the head for me. That I think the tariffs are a non-issue at this point until rubber hits the road. Like people see it.
Yeah,
Because cars were supposed to go up 25% and then they didn't, and that story's been told 7 times through the media with nothing really panning out. But the rates getting cut is exactly it, and I don't know what schedule the market needs that on. So, um, but that's more of like a weekly candle pullback. In the short term,
yeah.
I mean, a 5% pullback in SPY, I just don't think even happens pre-market for any reason.
Oh
It's just
no,
not
no.
there. It's just not there. So short term, yeah, we're staying in what I call that grinder fireworks market. It just feels like that.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, totally with you on that.
Perfect. Yeah, if we was content creators, I would go back and find that spot where I said the bottom was in, keep buying or start buying because that was damn near perfect. We kind of killed it through this I want to say year to be honest, P. With this at the start of the year with Mag 7 pullback and whatnot.
Yeah.
Awesome. that's about all I got. You ready to get to work?
Yeah, I'll grab a coffee and we'll do it.
Perfect. Like and subscribe, people. Link somewhere.